it's all live. They're live too. They're zooming in.
Oh, it's a Zoom.
Yeah, so it's a little. We've done it once before. We tested it again today, and all was fine. But it's a little unproven when it comes to all that.
I thought they were going to be.
So eventually, I have all the graphics worked out. If it works right tonight, the camera will do the same thing. Basically, they'll just do it for themselves. The cool thing about it is Zoom now has the ability to isolate the room. So you just take their image. Around the horn.
Yeah. Without love, when you're down on your luck, you can make it.
So
without love,
we'll talk about it.
We all fall high. Without love, when you're down on your knees, you can make it. Without love, we you got me waiting, yeah, you got me waiting for it.
Cyshing Matters starts now.
all good, man.
Here are the hosts of Cyshing Matters, Joe Kennedy and Dr. Don Amon.
Well, hi, everybody. Joe Kennedy here. And finally, Don, we are actually on the air.
That's right.
With Cyshing Matters. And that's kind of hard for us to believe. That's only taken like 18 years.
It's been a long time.
Yeah,
It's been a long time.
It has.
And look at the technology that we have now compared to the technology
Exactly.
we had then.
Exactly. And, finally, you went out and at least got on the commission, got some experience on what we were trying to talk about.
That's right.
Mayor for a while, got your doctorate. So we finally decided we had enough education to maybe
right.
come on the air and talk about some things. So that's good. But, hey, it's great to have you in studio. It's been a while since we've done anything up here.
Right.
It's been a while.
Since it's been at least 4 or 5 years.
Yeah, it has been a bit. And it's good to be back here. It's good to be back with you doing this kind of stuff. And I think this is something Cyshing Matters will have a little bit of impact, at least for some viewers, and maybe they'll get some education and some information, and they'll get a little more plugged in, to things a little bit. So that's what we hope here. And we'll talk a little bit more about that here in a minute. But anyway, really good to have Don. Now, of course, to entice Don to come on, I had to say, we'll give you a whole 2 minutes just by yourself, Don. Say whatever you want to. It doesn't have to be about Cyshing politics. It doesn't have to be about anything. You get a chance to just be Don Amon for a couple minutes and just talk about whatever you want. But I've got a bumper for you. Before you do that, you can't just launch into it. We got to put some technology here and get a little bumper. So before we get right into anything else tonight, we're going to do this right at the top of every show of Cyshing Matters, and Don Amon will have a couple minutes to give you his take on whatever it is on his mind. And so let's go right into that right now. Here we go.
Go ahead. Make my day.
That's funny. Well, hey, Joe. Thanks. First of all, I want to say thanks for letting me come on here.
Absolutely.
So this is the first edition of Amon Speaks, and so I just want to talk about something I saw yesterday that it bugs me, and maybe it won't bug you, but it bugs me. So I'm on social media, one of the social media things, Facebook, TikTok. I might have been on Instagram. I don't get on Instagram very much, but either way, it was Jonathan Cain, who is the keyboardist for Journey, and he was playing an intro to a song. And while he was playing the intro to the song, he was explaining to the audience how and why this song ended up being written. And he said it was, we were on tour for over a year. It was in the year and a half of this tour that he started thinking about all of the people that they have left behind to go on this tour. And they were on tour, like I said, it was about 18 months. They were in this tour. They were actually overseas. And so he got to thinking about all those people back home that they've kind of left so they could go on tour, and the rigors of tour and moving here and there. And he was, again, playing this intro, and he ended up writing the song Faithfully, which was one of Journey's biggest hits. And it was really about how the people you're on tour with, they support you, and then the little moments that you get to snag with the people back home, how they support you. And then I go to the comments, which is, I shouldn't do that. I should just enjoy the piece and move on. But I went to the comments, and the first comment was, Journey hasn't been Journey since Steve Perry left. Well, I got to tell you, that kind of crossed me the wrong way, because if that's the case, Steve Perry was not an original member of Journey. For that matter, Jonathan Cain wasn't an original member of Journey. Steve Perry came on in about 1977. Journey was formed in about 1973. Jonathan Cain comes on in 1980 and writes all the biggest hits, all the songs that you go to hear in concert. And Arnel Pineda, who took Steve Perry's place, has been with Journey now almost 17 years, way longer than Steve Perry was with Journey. So I have a problem when people say it's not the same band when so-and-so leaves. When I went, Randy Jackson from American Idol played with Journey. Come on. I went to see Fleetwood Mac on their last tour. They came to Tulsa. In fact, it was the first stop on the tour, and this was the tour without Lindsey Buckingham. They brought in Neil Finn, I believe, and Mike Campbell from Tom Petty's band. And when I got home, a friend of mine said, hey, how was the Fleetwood Mac cover band? Ooh, the Fleetwood Mac cover band? Why? Because Lindsey Buckingham wasn't there? Hey, let me tell you, folks, Lindsey Buckingham and Stevie Nicks weren't in the original lineup for Fleetwood Mac. So guess what? The Fleetwood Mac cover band has been going on since the Rumors album. Here's something else. What? Hey, are we going to talk about every time somebody leaves the band or joins the band, it's not the band? We could go on. Don't even get me started about Kiss. Let's talk about Ronnie Wood. Ronnie Wood joins the Rolling Stones in 1976. 1976, do the math, 24, 23, that's 47 years he's been in the Rolling Stones. Now, he hasn't been an official Stone up until the late 90s. They finally put him, or mid-90s, they finally made him a partner, so he was getting money off the album sales. But up until then, he has still been in the band for 49 years. Is that a cover band? He's the third longest member of the Stones, okay? The Eagles. Don't even get me started about all the members of Kiss, but they're still Kiss. And finally, if this is the way we're going to think, if this is the things we're going to post on social media so other people can read them, I would ask that you just take a moment to think about what it is you're saying. Because if this is our logic, then the Beatles haven't been the Beatles since Pete Best. Come on, man. I'm Don Amon, and I've just been talking.
Go ahead. Make my day.
Well, that's awesome, Don. Good job. and let me just take throw the script out here. That was completely different than I ever thought you would bring it in. But that's pretty awesome.
I'm sorry. That's what I said. I mean, I didn't know what you wanted, but it just went all over me yesterday.
Well, a social media post set you off a little bit.
That's right.
Just a lesson to everybody on social media. Think about it a little bit. Do a little research, right, before you just fly off the handle and post some stuff. All right. Well, a couple of things here. Kind of talking about what this show is going to be about. Not only cover bands and other things like that are incredibly important to Cushing. Of course, that falls right in the Cyshing Matters pocket of information,
Absolutely.
right? So you can, right off the top, you can see that you may get any information at any time.
That's right.
For any reason right here. So appreciate that, Don. Thanks a lot. But yeah, we're going to hopefully get a chance to talk to Ricky Lofton, who's now chairman of the board.
Chairman of the board, Ricky Lofton.
Yes, he is. And so however that happened, we'll talk to him a little bit about that and kind of what's new and different about that. He hasn't really been in that position before. He's been vice chairman, of course, with Mike Griffith, and now he's kind of got to work through those things as chairman. Also, Terry Brandon is supposed to give us a shout in here a little bit. Now, some of this is a little bit new on the technology side, so you might see a little bit of behind the scenes today. It might be not as smooth as we've done it 9 or 10 times. Maybe we'll work it out.
Do you want to know what being the chairman means?
What does being the chairman mean? From a former chairman. Now wait, let me give you the proper introduction here, because Don is, since we briefly talked about it, but you were a commissioner for 6 years.
6 years,
2014 to 2020.
Yeah.
And 4 of those last 6 years, you were chairman of the board.
That's right.
So you got the experience. So what does that mean, Don?
All the chairman means is that when the city manager, when something comes up, the city manager calls you first, okay? Because we can't all talk to each other, right? Because that breaks the sunshine law, right?
Right. Yeah.
So he calls you first, and he says, Chairman, this is happening. This is happening. This is how we think we're going to handle it. What do you think? And should I contact the other commissioners? And when it was, and usually it's usually something that needs fixed, or something has broken, or something isn't running properly. It's never anything like,
too drastic.
Yeah, it's just something needs done right away, and we don't have time to put it on go to have a meeting and vote on it. So we'll take care of it, and then we'll take care of the paperwork later. So that's one of the things about being the chairman. And then, of course, the other thing about being a chairman is you end up becoming the face of the board. So if there's something going on, the city manager might ask you to show up with him to go do something. Like Terry and I used to do budget. We would do like budget talks where we would go and we would give people this exercise where we would give them X amount of dollars.
I read the $100.
Yeah, $100.
Yeah,
Here's what you have to spend it on.
Right.
How do you break that up?
Right.
Because people always one of the things that the citizens want, or they want to feel safe, and they want to know that they're protected. So police and fire are always always big on that list. Do we have enough policemen? Do we have enough firemen and so on? And that's why we did the budget meeting. So as a chairman, you get to do those things as well.
Well, and so yeah, but you get in the first call now. One thing that you kind of had the I don't know if we call it an opportunity or not, but the privilege of handling is that COVID happened right in the middle of all that stuff too, and so you got one of those calls, and then it was all of a sudden everybody reacting to COVID, and then we were having to make decisions about the city shutting down and people shutting down and things shutting down and businesses shutting down, and that got a little more complicated.
Yes, that was one of the more trying times as the chairman of the Board of Commissioners, and even for all of the commissioners. It was a very trying time because we were being told, the governor of the state was saying one thing, but then you'd see him out, at a restaurant. So he'd go, stay home. Then he'd be out taking a selfie at a restaurant.
Right.
And then as we got closer, I remember it was spring break, and they decided that they were going to cancel. So we were on spring break, and they decided that we weren't going to go back to school after spring break, and we were going to wait 2 weeks, 14 days. Remember, 14 days was going to be the 14 days was the words they kept using, and here we are, 2.5 years later, and people are still suffering from some COVID issues. And I've been fortunate enough, I guess, or blessed that I've had just about every form of COVID you could have, and I'm still able to sit here and talk to people, but it wasn't that way for everybody. And so I remember that meeting very well because I went into that meeting thinking, it's not for me to tell a business what to do. I'm a firm believer that government should try to stay out of the way as much as possible with, people that are in private enterprise. Now, am I for fixing streets? Absolutely. Am I for making sure that we have power and water and sewage? Yes, absolutely. But there are certain things I think we need to stay out of, and to me that was one of them. It should be the business owner's, should be his decision to whether or not he wants to stay open. And then I can say his name. I think Dr. Gary Dietrich was at that meeting. And he said one thing to me, and when I heard that, I went, oh, okay. So I said, yeah, we're going to decide, we're going to shut down again, we're going to ask you to shut down for 14 days. And that was not met with, it wasn't met with the greatest enthusiasm, but it also wasn't bad on the other side either. It was kind of a 50-50 thing, and then I think once people saw, that it just wasn't going to be 14 days, that all of a sudden it was longer, and this was going to be longer, that I think people kind of understood that maybe we probably made the best decision we could make at that time. Was it the right decision? That you can debate that forever, but it was the best decision I thought we could make at that time, and we've, here we are. We've made it through.
All those decisions are extremely tough when you're in that position because you don't know, right? It's easy to look back in hindsight and make a judgment on it. But yeah, when you're looking forward to that kind of stuff, you don't know what's coming at you. And I think everybody kind of looked at it like, well, come on, this can't be that big a deal. And then, boy, it did turn out that bad. And then it just got worse and worse and worse. And then, here you are. So one of the great privileges you get to consider yourself in that hot seat during that time.
And the other thing was that we also had to continue with city business.
Yes.
So now our meetings had to become like Zoom meetings. We had to meet, like I would go to City Hall, and the city manager would be there, and the city attorney would be there, and we sat way far apart. But I was the only commissioner in the room. The other commissioners would show up via Zoom. Chief of Police. Chief of Police Claxton was there. Fire Chief Derek was there.
Right.
But all on Zoom, not in person. And so we had to have these Zoom meetings, and on Zoom meetings anything can happen. And if somebody's mic is live when it shouldn't be live, certain things happen. And there's
technology rears its head.
And there's also a great clip of me not being able to contain myself because of something that came through on one of the mics, and but we had I'll bet we had meetings. I'll bet we had 4 or 5 of those meetings where we just zoomed in.
Yeah, I think there were several. As a matter of
Yeah.
fact, probably the last half of 2020 was
Yeah.
pretty much that way. And so that did a lot for technology as well. I mean,
Right.
technology kind of tended to catch up with everything we've been trying to do for years and years, and so that was a help in that regard. And some of that we're kind of employing here today a little
Yeah.
bit. So now, but that doesn't mean it's still not new to people. We've got, and I don't know that here we are at 6:15, and so I can see that. Well, now maybe Terry is going to come in here in just a minute. We'll see.
All right.
And if he, oh look, I think that is Ricky Lofton here. So hang on, Ricky, if you can hear me.
Oh, I see Rick.
If you can hear me, Rick.
Rick, do I need to move?
No, you'll be fine. Now, here's the challenge. Here is that I've got to get him in the picture, right?
Okay.
And I'm not quite so sure that I'm going to do this without being completely invasive to the viewers and showing things that I shouldn't show. But I'm going to try here real quick to see if I can't get it right.
Hi, Mr. Lofton.
Mr. Amon.
I want to get him framed up here, and then I'll get faster at this, or we'll find a better way to do it. Now, here's the thing about now, Ricky, you might tilt your phone down just a little bit, so it's a little bit. There you go. That's a little better, and we'll bring Ricky in here to the conversation, and you might have to move to your right just a little bit, to your right a little bit. It's all backwards, right? There's Ricky.
There's Rick.
Right there. So hey, Ricky, there you are. I'm gonna put you up in the picture just a little bit so we can see you a little better. There, and again, we'll get some of this worked out. But hey, I appreciate you coming on, Rick, and this is the first time we've done this, so it's all brand new for everybody, right?
It's new for me, I'm telling you.
Well, hey, thanks for being the guinea pig here and coming on first. We appreciate it. Well, we were just talking earlier. Don and I were talking that, of course, you're newly the chairman. Mr. Griffith stepped aside, and that puts you in a position to be elected by the other commissioners. And so you got what, 2 weeks? Is that right? A week and a half, 2 weeks? You've been doing this?
About a week.
About a week.
I've been there about a week now, I think.
And how's it going so far? How would you consider it?
Time flies when you're having fun.
I bet. And
Don.
Yeah. Hey, I bet all this rain I bet all this rain's helping you out.
Oh, I'm just enjoying every bit of it. I'm putting out fires even with all the rain.
Oh, I know you are.
Yeah, you've been there.
Yeah.
well, I'll get him adjusted here just a little bit more. But anyway, appreciate it, Ricky. Well, tell us what's the biggest things that have been on your plate this last week or so, and then maybe give us a little hint of what we're going to see this evening in the commission meeting.
Well, it's mostly in the last couple of days been water, excessive amounts of water. We definitely have issues, and we're trying to figure out what we can do about these issues. And where are we going to go with all this water? That's been the big one. Part of the deal tonight is we're going to do a resolution about pigs in town, pot-bellied pigs. We're going to probably change the ordinance on that to allow a bigger pot-bellied pig. The rest of it's just more or less paying bills. I think you all probably got a copy of the consent agenda.
Yes.
And it's normal bill paying things that we do. And I looked at it a couple of times, and I haven't seen anything really out of the ordinary that gives me any worries. The main thing's the water problem right now. Of course, we've had an excessive amount of rain in the last 3 or 4 days.
And we're talking about drainage issues here mainly. Is that correct?
We've got some issues that we're going to try to figure out what to do with and how to fix them, and help people out and do what we can and do the right thing.
Yeah, I saw the crew. I didn't know what kind of a buzzsaw. I drove through today. I had to go to the tag agency because I didn't realize that my tag was due. And when I come back down Walnut, I'm running into Terry and Derek Brent, I'm running into the whole city staff as they were looking at. I know that there were some water issues on that street, and so hey, but I want to just say thanks, Rick, because as a guy with a pot belly, I'm glad that you're allowing a heavier person in the city.
Hey, this is an equal opportunity place, you know.
Well, I will say this has got to make you feel like a big city mayor to have one of the first things on your agenda to deal with potbelly pigs. I mean, where else do you get that kind of hot topic, right off
You
the
know,
bat?
with the urban chicken farming deal, where you could have chickens in town a couple of years ago. So I'm big about urban farming.
Well, there you go. Well, hey, that's all good. That's all good information, and you know, obviously the infrastructure issues are just ongoing. I mean, that's been for a long time, and we're now kind of in the heart of fixing that. But is it in a particular place that's bad, or is it in several places? How would you identify that?
The water problems?
Yeah.
You ever remember the thing about the little Dutch boy trying to poke his fingers in all the holes in the dike? That's the way I sort of feel today.
Yeah.
I mean, there's just an enormous amount of course, we've had an enormous amount of water, so, you know, we're trying to find the worst problems and trying to fix them. Some of them, it's been an ongoing problem for many, many years. And I'm sure Don, back whenever he was chairman and on the board, he's been down this road before also. It's really a daunting thing, but it's one of them things that you may not have the amount of rain we had for a couple of years.
Yeah,
so then it's out of sight, out of mind until it happens again.
Well, very true. And I mean, of course, I was hoping that, you know, some of the Main Street renovations, it was always a problem down there at the Homestead, you know, where the flood kind of across from the lumberyard there as well, Rick, and that area would flood pretty well there when it gets a significant amount of rain. And it was always tough for traffic going through there. And will that help once the Main Street is completely renovated, that drainage issue? I know they're just now working on that part of it over on the north side there, but will that, in your opinion, help any of that drainage there?
It should. They're, you know, they built a retaining pond north of there, probably maybe a quarter of a mile, maybe not quite that far. And hopefully that'll take care of that problem. They're going to make it where everything runs that direction. They had to keep it dammed up for a while they done some more work on it. So even though some of it was done and the retaining pond was done, they still had to do some other concrete work and stuff to make it where it didn't wash away during a heavy rain. So, and I think they've just about got that completed. If it's not completed, there's some issues, as you may or may not know, that has come to light over there behind Brahms. I went out and looked at 4 o'clock this afternoon, and we're going to try to come up with some ideas to try to help these folks out, because all that water that's actually coming off, because they've made the intersection bigger. So now we've got all that water that's actually moving in that direction, and we don't have the capacity to do something with it. So we're working to try to figure out what we can do to help these folks also.
And that I did see a post on social media about that same kind of thing. It was hard to kind of get the perspective of where that was, but it is just behind Brahms, across the alley there from Brahms back to the south. It looked like to me, and what you're saying is the change of the street and the intersection and all that has caused an unintended consequence there, pretty much, for the water to run into that yard.
But we've had an inordinate amount of rain in the last 4 or 5 days.
True.
I think in a normal rain, I don't think they would have this issue. You know, you know, my yard holds water because it comes off from the ballparks.
Oh, right.
And then when it gets to the school comes up this way. So, you know, it'll be June before my lawn. And if June rains like June's been raining every year for the last 3 or 4 years, then my lawn will never get dry. So.
Right. Well, you won't be mowing much.
No,
until
I won't. Well, or I'll be, when I mow, you won't see me.
Right, exactly. Well, Rick, anything else tonight that is of interest that might interest everybody? Go ahead.
I was fixing to say, I'm on the top of the hill sort of, and everything drains to the east where I live out here on Oak Street, and my backyard's still a swamp.
Yeah, I mean, it's been too much.
It is too much, and I mean, but I'm fortunate everything drains to the east really fast. But some of these poor folks are over in that area. It's really an issue, and we've got to figure out how to fix it, and we will.
Yeah,
Exactly.
absolutely.
All right, well, Rick, well, thank you for your time this evening. We appreciate that. Anything else that you might add this evening that we need to look for tonight?
I don't know of anything that's spectacular outside of the pig ordinance, but
That's a big vote.
You can't get more spectacular than that.
Potbelly pig is right. Well, and and that's always it's always an issue. It is an issue for somebody. I heard the lady speak about that, very passionately speak about that. And the potbelly pigs are getting a little bit bigger, and it just was not, the ordinance at the time wasn't adequate to move us into the future. So you're just kind of updating the ordinance here, I guess. Is that kind of the right?
we are. There was already an ordinance there, and we're just updating it so she can keep her pets, and I understand that. I can relate to that. So I'm sure we probably got a pretty good chance it'll work.
Absolutely. Well, Rick, Don, anything else for Rick that you have?
No, hey, congratulations on being the chairman. God bless you, and have a good year at least.
I'm gonna fight them fair.
There you go.
Good job. Hey, Rick, thanks so much for joining us this evening. We appreciate it very much.
You bet. Good to talk to y'all.
All right, we'll see you later.
See y'all.
Well, there you go. It actually worked. Hey, we could hear and we could see him. Now, it wasn't perfect as far as the picture being sized up quite right, but we'll get better at that part. But I'm just happy we could hear him
I could hear
and
him.
we could see him.
You could see him,
It all worked pretty well. So I'm gonna chalk that one down as a win for us. We got one over here in that category. So,
And I knew the water was going to be an issue, but because there's also been several posts on social media about county roads, and then people were saying that Zach Cavett, our county commissioner, isn't taking care of what he's supposed to take care of. But my goodness, we have just had an inordinate amount of rain. I know that on Saturday, I had planned to run up to Tulsa to give my son a thing that he got in the mail at our house that he needed, and then we thought we were going to be able to go watch the baseball game, but it didn't work out that way on Friday. So I said, well, good, I'll just go and cut. So I had all the cane that was cut, or giant reed as it's called in Oklahoma. I found
there you
that
go.
out.
Okay, yeah.
I had it all cut out of my yard, and I still have a pile there that I need to pick up, but now the cane is growing, and everyone has told me, well, the cane's going to come back. Yes, I do. I get it. But hey, guess what? Taking down 20 plants is better than taking down 400 plants. So I thought, well, I'll get the weed saw, or whatever you want to call it, the brush cutter, and I'll go down there and cut those out. And then I bought this spiky type of hoe that I could get into the ground and pull the bulb out. Otherwise, it'll continue to grow.
Right.
So I go down there, I get everything ready, I get my cart down there, I get my tools, I'm getting ready to start cutting. Here comes
So
the
lightning,
thunder, and
yeah.
I'm like, what is it? And then boom, I mean, I can't get back to the garage, you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
It's just been too much. So I know the water is an issue, but I think I think if we just had normal rain, that those issues wouldn't be as pronounced.
Sure.
And I think that's kind of what the chairman was saying was,
Sure.
we don't think about it until it happens. It's like Terry used to say, he still says it, we used to say it all the time. People don't think about the electricity plant, they don't think about the sewage plant until their toilets don't flush or until their lights don't come on.
Absolutely.
You know what I
Absolutely.
mean?
And there is inherently the problem, but I guess that's why people like yourself are elected to those offices, I suppose, to worry about that stuff, right?
Well,
And we hope.
try to come up with solutions.
Exactly, and then it's tough at that, because then you're usually battling several different ways to
Yeah.
tackle one problem, or the problem could have been fixed years before if somebody
Right.
would have been proactive. So.
And things have changed, so what worked in 1970 when they built this particular section of one of our plants doesn't work in 2023 because it's outdated and we've moved on to something else, and again, it hasn't been a problem until it becomes a problem, and then
Hence the potbelly pig ordinance, Don. I'm telling you right now. and not to make light of that, but so you wouldn't hear this ordinance come up in a New York City council meeting. But I'm just saying, here in Cushing, Oklahoma, it happens to be right on the top of our list. But a very important one.
That's right.
It's always important to you if you're the person that is affected by whatever the ordinance is.
Now, Joe, since we're talking about government, it's interesting you just said New York City. So I just want to talk a little bit about our system of government.
Sure.
This is something else Terry and I used to go around and talk about. So New York City has a mayor, and that mayor kind of runs the city.
Sure.
We have a councilman-manager system where the manager runs the city, and the council or the commission basically determines how the money should be spent, really.
Right.
Terry makes the decisions that he thinks, based on, and Terry is very good at working with other departments and so on and getting a bunch of data before he makes a decision, and then he comes to us, and then we say, well, yeah, that's a priority, we need to work on that now, we can put this aside. We're getting probably towards the end of budget season.
Right.
And we have 3 months, 3 to 4 months of budget sessions where we talk about needs and wants and must-haves. And hey, we can put this aside. We have money for this, but you know what? We don't need that now. And so, so that's the difference. The mayor of New York City would be able to say, hey, this is what we're going to do with pot-bellied pigs. Whereas here, Terry can say, hey, this is what people are wanting.
Right.
Now it's up to us to
vote on it, make it official.
Yeah, because I guess we could set policy if we needed to, but we really just change things.
And really, the policy that you set comes in the form of code, or comes in the form of a charter, or it comes in the form of something like that, or a budget amendment, or something like that.
Yeah.
And so sometimes it looks a little different than what typical politics is, certainly on a national level or a big state level or something like that. So I think that is an important thing that we want to get to, talking about some different things, is just how that works.
Right.
We've had many discussions, many van rides. We've
Yeah.
talked about that, especially when you were just elected. Why can't I would throw out some possible scenario that expect Don to solve it in 45 minutes or less, right? On a ride to Tecumseh or somewhere, wherever we're going. So, but
we had a heated debate about carryover. Do you remember that?
Yes, we did. And you know what?
Heated debate.
Guess where I was today, this afternoon? I stopped by Jessica Worthy's office, and I said, you know what? I still want to talk about the reserve, because I think it is one of the most confusing, and it is. It's one of the most confusing things. Now, she got to. I said, now you're going to have to come in here off of your CPA thing and talk to just an average person here.
Are you going to get her to come in here?
She is coming in. She is
sweet.
coming in.
Good. Jerica's awesome.
Yes, and so I just told her, so be prepared for some idiotic questions from me, because I want to be able to explain that. One of the things, and this is kind of the point of this show, is to be able to explain things like that to the average person. So we were getting down to, she had to run, but we were getting down to kind of the crux of the matter on the reserve, and I was starting to understand it as though, you're balancing your checkbook. That's the way everybody needs to understand it. So you're kind of, when you open up your bank statement, or you open that up and you go, that's what I've got to work with. Well, we'll kind of explain it to you on those terms, I hope. And so
good.
maybe we can take out some of those issues that we've been arguing about for years and years, Don.
I'm glad she's coming. Jerica's awesome. She's awesome.
She is. She does a very good job, and has a very and I'll be honest with you, it's probably a little bit remedial for her to come talk to somebody like me, because I could just see the frustration. She would use these words, and I would like, you're gonna have to explain that one. That's like 6 syllables too many for me. So anyway, she's gonna come in, and we're gonna deal with that. And I think Jonathan will also come in. We covered part of the budget meeting. We did some of that, and I think he'll come in and explain some things too. But he asked that same question, and so all of that is very good. But this is possibly a format where not only regular citizens can ask a question, maybe directly to some of these people, to officials like yourself, or former officials like yourself, and get an explanation that has a little more depth than just watching a commission meeting. So all right, so we're gonna
Terry Brannon's calling me.
He is, and we're gonna check on that, and we're gonna take a quick break and see if we can't get Terry plugged in here real quick. If we can, we'll be right back, and right here on Cyshing Matters, first episode.
Can I call him back?
Yes, and nothing is happening. That's lovely.
Knows I'm here. Who's
Well,
calling me? I thought there was an emergency.
And there I see Terry. I can't, my leg's stuck there. Let's hold on just a minute. We're going to get Terry in here. And in just a minute, he is going to be able to join. There he is.
There he is. I can see him.
Don't like having to do that every time. And again, folks, we told you that you might see a little behind the scenes stuff here tonight and kind of dealing with some of this. And you're exactly getting that as we promised. So we're delivering everything we told you we would. And Terry, if you could tilt your phone up a little bit more straight up, maybe just for me. There you go. It makes you a little taller in our picture. Get you in in the mix there a little bit, and we'll pop it right in between Don and I. There you are. So I'm going to take that as a win number 2, even though it was slow and poorly done. But Jerry, thanks for joining us this evening. Hey, we didn't get a chance to get everything from your city manager's report, probably as normal. I think there were some issues down there getting all that kind of stuff out too. I hope you guys resolved that, and we're getting along on the agendas and all that. Okay, but kind of hit the highlights for us if you would tonight. And thanks for coming on, by the way.
Yeah, so I appreciate the opportunity to be here tonight, Joe. I think probably the biggest thing I think relative to progress for the town is that we are making some major steps tonight by inking engineering agreements with the professional engineering consultants of Tulsa. This is for the State Highway 18 improvement that's slated for the town. In my city manager report that I'll be putting out later on, there will be a complete report in there regarding the State Highway 18 project. In fact, just to give you a little bit of clarity on that particular project, if you recall, in 2020, we went in and relocated water and sanitary sewer at the corner of Deep Rock Road and Highway 18. Now, the project is slated now coming up for 2025 to make improvements from North Street, which is basically behind Best Western, all the way north to Deep Rock Road, which will involve relocation of sanitary sewer and water lines that are in conflict with the project. That's going to be transformed into a Super 2. And that's a really big deal for this community. If you think about, and I know that former Chairman Amon will recall this, Cushing had basically lost their spot in the state highway construction process. We were getting ready to get booted out of the 8-year plan. We hadn't done what we were supposed to do as a community. And so by taking those steps several years ago, which was led by then Dr. Don Amon, we were able to get our community back on the 8-year plan to include the current improvement to Main Street and now this 2025 improvement to State Highway 18. So really excited about that. That's on there tonight. We're going to give an update on the walking trail. Of course, that project is well ahead of schedule. We're about 19 days ahead of schedule, if you will. That project is progressing well. All of the walkways have now been poured. A parking lot has been poured by what we call the old log cabin pavilion. There's some additional work that's going to continue, but we look to have that project wrapped up in July. We've also gotten back our Uchi Valley Road assessment, which is a detour assessment that was done back when traffic was being detoured, when the intersections were being rehabilitated by the Department of Transportation. So we've got that assessment back. I'll talk briefly about it tonight. I won't get into a lot of detail. We're still trying to work out some of the numbers, if you will, with Payne County Commissioner Zach Cabot. But we hope to have a really fruitful meeting this Thursday morning with our engineer and his road foreman and he here at my office to try to work through some of those issues. And of course, I think another thing big tonight is we're going to have the official swearing in of Nancy Dowell as our newest appointed commissioner who fills the seat that remained when Commissioner Mike Griffith resigned. And in addition, we have a police officer, the new police officer is being sworn in tonight as well.
Well, that's quite a few things there that the commission will be handling tonight. More than just the potbelly pig ordinance that we talked with Rick pretty extensively about. But
yeah, I wasn't even going to bring up the potbelly pig, but I want you to know that I've actually visited the potbelly pigs twice. So we're going to look at considering some concessions there. When that ordinance was put into place, I was a young police officer here at Cushing. When that ordinance was put into place, there was a young lady who lived at the corner of 6th and Harrison who actually had a potbelly pig for a pet. And there was no ordinances that governed potbelly pigs. And so the city worked with her and put an ordinance in place to allow for potbelly pigs up to 75 pounds. Well, the young lady who has the 2 potbelly pigs that are in question now, they both exceed 75 pounds each. And so we're going to present a concession to the commission tonight to look at increasing the weight limit to 150 pounds. I thought that the owner made an excellent argument regarding the size of dogs, because some dogs are in excess of 100 pounds. And so based on what she's told us and my personal visit to the house, these pigs are super well cared for. The yard is clean. These pigs eat a special diet. They have their own bedroom. They even watch TV on the couch sometimes. So these animals are really dear to her. And she gave a very impassioned plea to us last month to consider taking some positive steps to help maybe resolve her issue. So we're going to do that tonight. And of course, it'll certainly be up to the elected officials to make that change. But we as staff thought it was important to give them some options in order to address that specific issue.
Well, I think it's important, and I'll let Dr. Amon step in here too if he has a question for you. But I think it's important to show people that that's a point where you get involved in your city government, right? That's a point where you can engage the city government, and she chose the appropriate way to do that. Came before the council, can't talk to you, got staff involved and all that, and not only that, but did her own research on how those can fit in, and they are pets, and they are just like anybody else's pets, dogs, cats, that sort of thing. And so, and the fact that she educated herself and brought it before the council in the right way makes a big difference, I'm sure, for you and everybody else in the city.
Yeah, and I'll have to give Miss Randall a ton of credit because she did excellent getting all this information put together for us, so we could have something to present back that was reasonable, that was articulable to the commission, and it gave us some meat to work with. We didn't go into it completely blind and going, well, maybe we need to contact OSU Vet Med Services or maybe some other veterinarians to get some insight into potbelly pigs. So pretty excited about that. But I want to go back to something you just said, Joe, and I think this is so critical. Engagement with us here is not a bad thing. And the one thing that I appreciate about Mrs. Randall and the way that she's went about handling her issue with the potbelly pigs is that she didn't take to other means to try to create engagement. She created the engagement by getting engaged directly with us. And I think that's so important because I think the turnaround for her was that we were very responsive to what her needs were. We had we've been dealing with, I'm sure you've probably seen it on social media throughout the weekend, but we've been dealing with some really serious stormwater runoffs. And yesterday evening, I went to that residence and attempted to contact someone. Once I was made aware of it, I went there probably around 4:30, 5 o'clock. I didn't reach anybody. I left a business card. At 7:15 this morning, my assistant Derek and I, we were out there on that doorstep knocking on that door. And we've spent the majority of our day addressing that issue head on, not running from it, not hiding from it, but addressing it head on, talking to the property owners, talking to the Oklahoma Department of Transportation. I actually had the Division 4 leader for Division 4 of the ODOT here in Cushing this morning, as well as one of the lead engineers for ODOT here this morning, working with us to try and fast forward and expedite some type of solution, whatever that may be. And I can tell you, being a fellow Cushingite, I was very empathetic to their situation, and I felt terrible. I really did. And so it's my goal, and I promised her this morning on the front porch that I would do everything within my power to make sure that there's a suitable and reasonable fix to whatever the issue there is with the water, whatever that may be. I don't know what that may be yet, but that's in motion. But I think that appropriate engagement is so important, and I think sometimes people get lost in that, and and look at other means of trying to engage us, and I don't mind engaging that way, but I sure like to have it head on versus getting it secondhand.
Yeah, just a couple things. I saw you out there today as I was coming back from the tag agency. I had to go to the tag agency. But last night when I saw it on social media, the first thing I said to Dr. Raymond, number one, was, what's the over-under? Terry will be there first thing in the morning. And you were. And that's the kind of city manager we have right there, Terry Brandon. So, Chief, I got two things. One, thank you as a pot-bellied guy, thank you for raising the weight limit. I appreciate that. And secondly, has this water that we have, is it affecting the walking trail project?
It is affecting the walking trail project, meaning that the ancillary work can't get done. So what is some of the ancillary work? There's improvements out on Liberty Island that include a really nice setting out there with concrete and some pads out there for benches. So that work is held up. There's some fencing work that is held up right now. And then some of the additional parking lot work and then ADA access work is held up now as well. So we got about, in some places, 3.5 inches of rain here in Cushing, and in some other places here in the city, but depending on who you listen to and what gauge you look at. But at the end of the day, the rain has certainly impacted that project. It's also adversely impacted our Main Street project as well. I had a business owner reach out to me this morning, first thing, with an issue regarding access to her business. We immediately got on the phone with the appropriate contacts with ODOT that are here overseeing that job and work to get that business, get their access restored wholly. So the rain has impacted us quite a bit here in the city, not just on the trail project, Dr. Hammond.
Hey, and one other thing, I know we're getting close to meeting time, but you and I happened to take a trip last week, and I asked you a question that someone posed to me about the space between the sidewalk and the curb, and you said that was green space. Well, I got to thinking about that, and so my question is, who's going to fill in that green space? Is that the property owner, or will that be done and then there'll be the property owner to maintain it?
Well, I will tell you that I'm hopeful that is a part of the overall ODOT contract with Allen Construction. I haven't dealt that deep into that contract to that small minutia stuff, but my hope is that that'll be a part of that agreement. If not, then I think that poses an interesting question for us. What do we do? And I can tell you that I'll be right on the doorstep of District 4 up in Perry saying we need to get the green space filled in. And, if that means that you guys need to look at modifying that agreement or adding to it, then we certainly would be supportive of that. But it does need to be filled in. Mm-hmm.
Thanks, Chief.
Well, that's a good question. Terry, thank you so much. I know we've run a little over time tonight, and not things exactly gone the way we wanted to, but we had you on, we could hear you, and we could see you. And like I said, I marked that down as a win. Maybe the time got us for one, but we're 2-1, so we're in pretty good shape. So thanks so much for coming on here today.
Yeah. Joe, Dr. Amon and I go way back when it comes to these type of programs. Just know that the city is very supportive. Even when sometimes it may be to our best interest just to stay off the airways. I think it's a great idea to get engaged and not run from issues. So I appreciate the opportunities always.
Well, we appreciate you coming on. Before you go, I'll just ask you real quick. Last time you were here in studio with Don, you had some good football predictions. I know we're out of season, but any predictions going forward
Whoa, you better be careful.
this year?
No,
No?
I can tell you that in my new role in city government, I'm out of the prediction business. I was fully involved in that, but I think y'all know I was trying to tell the truth. I can't speak for everybody.
That's right.
You were trying, and you did, and you followed it up with a lot of pizza too.
That's
So,
right, the pizzas.
Anyway,
A lot of pizzas. A lot of pizza was eaten.
it's usually a good thing for somebody, maybe not you, but
Well,
for somebody else if you make a prediction about something. So anyway,
Yeah. Bottom line is I kept my word. So, you know,
absolutely.
That's right.
all right.
Terry,
You guys
thank you
have,
so much for your time this evening. We'll talk to you soon.
all right. Thank you.
All right,
Bye-bye.
thank you. Bye bye. All right. Well, there's Terry Brandon for you, and man, you know, the thing I always like about Terry is that it's a multitude of details about whatever subject you ask him about. I mean, he just knows everything from bottom to top.
He's got it, and he works. He works hard. He gets the information. He has the right. He goes to the right people. He gets the information from them, and then he sorts it out, and then he is able to explain it to you in a way that is understandable. So I said we went on a trip last week.
Yes.
Last Tuesday night, my Christmas present came due, and it was to see Dr. Neil deGrasse Tyson over in Tulsa.
Okay.
Well, Melissa, that was also the night of the teacher banquet and the board meeting.
Yes.
And Melissa didn't, realize that until we were about 2 weeks out, and she goes, "Well, I'm not going to be able to go with you." And I said, "Well, I'll call Terry." So Terry and I went, and on the way home, Terry said, "Man, that guy was talking about, he's an astrophysicist, so he was talking about things that were, beyond our comprehension.
Sure,
but he
yeah.
does it in a way that allows you to go, oh, okay, I can see that." And I say the same thing about Terry. And Terry I know he said just now, I haven't gone into the minutia, but Terry usually does get into the minutia.
That is, yeah.
And he finds those things out, and he lets you know. And like I said when I read the post last night about the flooding issue, I looked at Melissa and I go, "What do you want to bet me Terry's there first thing in the morning?" And he was, and that's exactly, and that's why I think he's a great city manager.
Well, absolutely. I mean, the access to him is probably more than it really ought to be.
Right.
And he's very open door, and he'll tell you anything you need to know about a project, and he'll help you with any kind of project, any question you have. And so he just does a great job, not only gathering that information but disseminating that information, and then putting that information into action. And so I know he's helped countless numbers of people on their small issues.
Right.
So anybody that's engaged him, I can guarantee you, it doesn't matter how big the issue, how small the issue, he gets an answer for you. So that's a good thing. And that's the nice thing about being in a smaller city,
Right.
in a smaller town like this, is that you can have access like that, right to the guy that is in charge of running everything and making those decisions. And really, and the same for you, Don. I mean, people being able to ask you those questions. Well, at least we had a format in a way. You would have maybe not talked to them on the air about something like that, but it was a good question, and I wouldn't have thought about that. I wouldn't have thought until it was long over and a year down the road. Hey, there's no grass there. Hey, who's supposed to plant? So maybe that's something done in a timely way that will be something that looks a lot better once the sidewalks are put in and completed.
It was Mrs. Amy, Dr. Amy.
Well, there you go.
She said, "Hey, when you're driving over there with Terry, ask him what those holes are for." And I said, "What holes are you talking about?" Because just let me clarify or quantify that statement. I leave my house and drive through the middle school to the high school. I am very rarely on Main Street. When the Casey's building was up, okay, which it may have been up for weeks.
Yes.
I rode by and I said, "Hey, Melissa, look, the Casey's building's up." And she'll go, "Yeah, it's been like that for a month." And I'll ride by somewhere and go, "Hey, did you know that was there?" And she'll say, "Yes, it's been there for 2 or 3 weeks." So I very rarely get out on Main Street anymore. But so when we went out there, I went out and I looked and I went, "Oh, I said, "That's for grass." That's what I said. I didn't call it green space. I said, "Oh, that's for grass." And so when Terry and I left to go over to Tulsa, I asked him, I posed that question, and that's what That's what he said. And then I didn't think about it. I said, oh, okay, cool. That's what it is. And then later on, I got to thinking, well, who's going to be in charge of filling that? Is that my job if I live there, or, because I may not fill it with what you fill it with.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
You can put lava rock on it. If you're out in West Texas, you'd be dumping lava rock
That's right.
in that area.
You know?
Well, I mean, it kind of takes me back really to the Andrew Katz days.
Yeah,
you know,
Andy Katz.
when the whole corridor thing was an issue, and part of that ordinance was that we kind of move things back right off of Main Street, give it a little bit of space, and beautify it a little bit, right? Put some green space, make it more eye catching and more eye appealing.
Of course, that wasn't met with the greatest of...
No, it wasn't, and I probably was one of those. I'll be honest with you, because not an issue for me. Why are you telling me I got to put green space?
That's right.
But when you start to look at the big picture, and that's what's so hard about politics, right? It's easy to find somebody to disagree with you, right? So, but when you see the net result of that, and here we are 20 years later, just really seeing the fruit of maybe what that ordinance with Andy Katz was about beautifying, and so I think. By the time that whole project's done, everybody will be, well, you know what, this looks pretty nice.
It looks pretty good.
It looks good.
You know, right now it's a mess. Right now there's, like Terry was talking about, there's water. And you talked about the water over by the lumber yard and Homestead. And they built a huge retaining thing back on the other side of North Street. At the end of the day, it's gonna be nice, and we're gonna be like, oh, this is nice, and we're going to forget about the, I try to explain to people, especially when it comes to government, that it's a marathon, not a sprint, because the things, like for example, I ran over, I was on the commission for 6 years. Ricky's just finished his third. So 9 years ago, right?
Right, yeah.
Maybe even 10 years ago, I don't know how you count the years, but 9 years ago, I ran on wanting a light at Harmony in Maine, because that's when they were getting ready to build
the school,
the new school. And I thought, well, there's going to be a lot of traffic, and luckily or thankfully, the city added that little road coming off of
over through the apartment complex.
Over.
Right.
Can't think of the name of that road right there, but thankfully Timber Ridge or something like Thankfully they put that little access in there, because that allowed the buses to get out without having to go back out on Harmony or back down to 9th Street. And if you remember when the school first opened up, you couldn't even use the 9th Street entrance. You could only use the Harmony entrance.
Right.
And it was packed, and so I ran on that.
Then
And
that intersection was a big issue.
It was because people were getting in wrecks or crashes there, and then it came about 3 years into about after my first term, there was some serious talk about putting a light there. Mm-hmm. That was also the time we started talking about this highway project. This highway project was supposed to start about 2019, but we ended up getting pushed back down because of certain things didn't get done. Right. Terry kind of mentioned that there were certain things that we didn't do, or that we didn't get finished, and so we kind of got pushed down the list. And then COVID hit, and so that's another year out. So all of this stuff that they're working on now, we thought we would be finished by now. And I found out that in the plans, they are planning to put a light at Harmony in Maine. Again, I will believe it when I see it. But I'm excited about that because, one, I think that will slow traffic down coming down Main Street, coming over the hill going east, and right now the traffic's slow coming to the west, just because it goes down to one lane and everyone has a stop sign there. But I'm looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to the sidewalk all the way down to Walmart, because we have. At one time, there were several of our senior residents in their scooters,
motorized
scooting down the highway to get to Walmart.
Dangerous stuff there, yeah. So, I mean, all that, this just goes to show you how long it really takes.
It takes a long
to get a
time.
lot of action on things, and get it done.
Terry talked about the walking trail and about the improvements they're doing to the walking trail. Well, when the walking trail when the grant for that, or when, that was Valerie Brannion's idea.
Yes.
And when she brought that to the city, I think that was prior to me being on the board. And then once I got on the board And once Terry became the city manager, we kind of started doing that. So by the time we broke ground, and there's a picture of me with a shovel. By the time we broke ground, that was probably five years.
Yes.
And so I think when people say, boy, I want this, and we live in a world where I want it and I want it now, and in government, it doesn't work that way.
Right.
You know, there's so many things that have to take place before something can get done.
Well, it's just, infrastructure. I mean, just the Main Street project alone and all the infrastructure improvements that are really there. And a lot of that is water runoff, things that you have to address that you didn't think they didn't have that problem before, but now it's really an issue.
Right.
And so you have to address it. And so Terry's talked a lot about that. Terry's talked a lot about the things that they've had to add. Now, just real quickly, I'm keeping an eye on the commission meeting over here. I don't see anything popped up yet. We're waiting for that to come online so that we can start it. Hopefully, that is a little bit out of our hands, but hopefully that will get done here pretty quickly. But just to kind of continue to talk about our format here tonight, I didn't know we'd get that much deep into a lot of the subject matter tonight. We did a little bit.
We did.
If nothing else, we took care of the potbelly pigs and the green space between the curb and Main Street. So, and maybe some water runoff issues.
Yeah.
So we dealt with a little bit. But the point here is that at the end of every show, we're going to have a little panel. I'm going to call it the Cyshing Matters Master Panel, right?
Okay.
And we'll have probably 3 at least engaged citizens and former, like yourself, former commissioners or former chairmen or mayors, or former in politics in a different nature. So it's somebody with some kind of political experience that has some knowledge of what goes on. So yeah, I'm telling you, it's very nice, Don, to have you here finally with some experience. We tried to do this show when you didn't have any,
Right.
and it's worked out a lot better since.
But, you know,
since
the
have
old
some.
show, we also tackled different subject
We
matters.
did.
We tackled health with the Babs, the
That's very
doctor's
true.
Babs.
Yes.
We tackled wills and estates with the Bills.
The Bills.
How about we had the Babs and the Bills?
The Bills and the Bills. We were on the
And
B's.
then,
We didn't get too much further. We got to the collectors. We got to
collector
K.
did
Yeah.
the
Buildings.
The buildings and stuff. So I mean, we had the right idea. We just you know, with the technology now,
Yeah.
it's so much easier.
It's a lot different, and
Yeah.
and that's really what our goal is here, is to kind of revive these kind of things, because they are important ideas for the community, and I think now we have a way to do them maybe a little better than we could before. So,
Because if you think like the time that we did the Bills, we did it in the library.
yes, well, where to shoot? Yeah,
And
that
I
was-
think we had a 2-camera setup.
yeah,
But we didn't have a switcher.
No.
So that means you took the footage
you got to go edit it,
and had to edit it
Yeah.
back and forth. You had to watch both tapes, which
Yeah.
said the same thing,
right?
and cut back and forth. And now we have, at your fingertips,
Now we're doing it right off the
Yeah,
cuff here,
on
you
the
know.
fly.
So we didn't accomplish all of our goals tonight.
what else was another
Well, mainly the time frame, because we're off a little bit
Oh, are
tonight,
we?
and I'm hoping that that I'm not missing something here and not seeing something get started. But I don't see a live feed at all for the commission meeting yet, and that should be on
Did you
the
refresh?
City of Cushing Facebook page, should it not?
Well, refresh the page, just
Yeah,
in case.
I will. I'm gonna go look here real quick one more time. Hang on. Where is the little?
Where's the little circle thing?
Yeah, I don't see it. So I'm gonna do this. I'm just gonna do it the old-fashioned way here.
It's a pretty nice monitor there too, Joe.
Yeah, we know we're.
There it is.
There we are. Oh,
And we're
that's
swearing in.
no. That's an
Oh,
old,
that's the
that's an
last
old
one.
picture.
That's
Yeah.
swearing in Ricky. Yeah.
So we're still not seeing it here yet, but let me go here and see. It doesn't repopulate, but I still don't see anything. So we'll keep an eye on that. But the goal here is to go right into the meetings and to give the viewers maybe a little different eye and ear to hear what is going on in the commission meetings and hear it a little different way. We've tried to give you some background information on some of these subjects. Again, a little education, a little entertainment, a little information, and some maybe might create some engagement. Right.
And here we'll go a little deeper. So some people say, like when I was on the commission, I had to go to Walmart one time to get soap. That's all I wanted was soap. 45 minutes later, I'm still standing in an aisle getting berated by one of our citizens about that we were just 5 birds sitting on a line, quack, 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 making all these noises, not making any decisions or anything like that. And I had to explain to him, I go, listen, the city meeting is a business meeting. So everything that is on that agenda has already been discussed somewhere along the line. And if it hasn't, then we do discuss it there. But, you know, it's nothing that.
There's a limited amount of time
Yeah,
to do that.
if it's super heavy, then we have a special meeting on that so we
Sure.
can discuss it more in depth. But it's basically a business meeting. Hey, we need to spend money on this. Can we do it? Yes or no? And most of the time, we've already hashed that out in our budget meetings prior to. So in July, we might be or not. Let's not use July. Let's use November. In November, we might be discussing something that we know's on the budget because we talked about it back in the budget meeting in March of the, back in March. And so we know it was coming up. And so it's just a matter of saying, yeah, hey, we knew this was coming. Do we have the funds? Then go for it. Go spend the money. It's not a place of where we're just going to debate each other back and forth about things. That's only happened in my tenure of the 6 years that I was on the board. I can only remember a few times where there was a discussion about something, about what was the correct way to go about it, or could we alleviate the financial burden, or would it take more money? The other thing that people don't seem to understand is that if because we allow, or we used to allow, I don't know, I haven't seen a meeting in a while, but we used to allow public comments. You cannot comment on a public comment. All you can say is thank you very much, because it's not on the agenda, and we are only supposed to talk about the things that are on the agenda. So it's not like I remember Mr. Beasley brought a bunch of people when he was trying to get the Duncan in the theater, and he brought a bunch of people because there was something he wanted for the city to help him out with the theater. I don't remember. It was a long time ago. And so he brought all these people, and they came and they talked. And I said, well, we thank you for coming, but that's all we can say is thank you for coming. Right. And obviously it worked out because the Duncan Theater is open, right, and it's running. And I know people that go, and right now they're playing Guardians of the Galaxy, and I'd like to go see that film. And so maybe next couple of days when I don't have anything to do, I can jump over and see it.
Maybe you can get out of here and quit doing this goofy stuff and go down. Well, that's but that is very true though, because it's not like you can just walk up and approach the commission and get a result right there. Yeah. It's never that way.
It's never that way.
And it's a little it kind of shows you just like the lady with the potbelly pigs. Terry said, be prepared. She came prepared. She came very well prepared, very articulated her position to the commission, and as a result. Maybe a couple of months later, but she gets some results from that, and that's the appropriate way to approach the commission. And
when I first got on the board, we had a citizen that was having some plumbing issues, and she was very mad at the plumbers. She wasn't mad at anybody at the city. She was mad at the plumber, and she wanted the city to somehow admonish this plumber. And then we would have these discussions, and I kept sitting there thinking, we really can't talk about this. I mean, we did, but we never made any decisions, you know what I mean? And I will also say, even though I did say it was a business meeting and we don't argue about things at those meetings, everything that is discussed at a meeting, if it has been discussed before, was discussed in an open session. There's no backdoor, clandestine meetings. It's all done somewhere in an open session, study session, whatever you want to call it, special meeting. Like we would have special meetings or study sessions about certain things that we knew were going to come up, so that when they do come up during the regular meeting, it's either yes or no.
Right.
And it doesn't always mean it's going to be yes. Not the one thing the guy kept saying at Walmart was, all you guys do is say yes, you're a bunch of yes men. Well, usually what's on the agenda is so that we can say yes and get out of that meeting. And then if it's something that we were going to say no on, we spend more time discussing it before we put it on the agenda.
Right.
Do you know what I mean?
And those sorts, I think all those sorts of things. So the commission meeting really is just the surface level of what's going on with the commission. There's a lot deeper information there. And as chairman, you know that sometimes a lot of those discussions about what can we put on the agenda, what should we put on the agenda, what's ready to be put on the agenda, is sometimes a big discussion.
Right,
that has
and
to go on.
that's really another, that's another perk of being the commission,
There
being
you go,
the
right.
chairman. The city manager will call you and say, Chairman, I'm gonna put this on the agenda, or we're putting this on the agenda. The only thing that the only thing that Terry never really talked to me about before he wrote the agenda was usually the consent agenda, because we knew the consent agenda was basically gonna be the same thing.
monthly
It's
bills,
the
yeah,
bills you
so-
have to pay, so, fuel, non-pay utility, that always threw people off. What do you mean? How come those people aren't paying utilities? Well, it's not necessarily that. It's traffic lights, it's street lights, no one's paying for that.
Nobody's getting billed for the traffic light
Yeah.
electricity.
Do you know
right.
what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's kind of what that meant.
Yeah. Well, and those are interesting things. So, I mean, some of those issues, that's kind of what we're going to dive into. The other people that we're going to have on the panel will have insight to some
Oh,
of
yeah,
that stuff.
absolutely.
They'll have insight to what happens. And we'll get into, when we get a good executive session going, Don, we'll get into what we think really might be going on behind the scenes. Now,
I can tell you.
and that's what we want to know. But don't tell us tonight, because
I won't.
I want to save that. But
I
it
can tell
is
you, but I
interesting.
can't. I can tell you, but I can't tell you.
Exactly.
Do you know what I mean?
Exactly right. And so I think that is going to be interesting for people to get a little bit of insight on how that all works too. Well, I do not see. I know that Jared typically is the guy that does the streaming, and I asked him. We were actually in Atlanta the other day, of all places.
Oh, you were
at the
with
same time. Yeah, we were both out there, and I said, "Hey, you're not going to be doing the commission meeting, so who is Ryan going to take care of that? Is somebody going to take?" Well, I think so. He didn't know for sure, and so we may be in a spot here, maybe that we're not going to be able to see it this evening. So if that's the case, we apologize. We just assumed it was going to go forward. But the idea here is to do this show prior to the meeting coming on, and then the meeting will follow this show. So we apologize for that tonight. But, you still got time to get down there and go
right.
listen to the meeting, and be part of it. So do that. We'll sign off here for this evening. But I want to thank Don very much for coming in. Don will be here as much as possible. I won't commit to necessarily every month. He's got some vacation in there he's probably going to take, but we enjoy having him here, and hopefully he'll be here the majority of the time. I think he's got some great insight for all the viewers as well. And then we'll have a full panel, and I'll tell you, some of those people I won't going to tell you tonight, but we'll get them all confirmed for sure, and they'll probably be on the next show, kind of like you just saw Terry and the chairman come in.
So are we going to do? Is that going to be a Zoom kind of thing, or are they going?
That is going to be a Zoom kind of thing too. So really, they can participate. The cool thing about this is they don't have to be, and even you could do it if you wanted to be in Milan or wherever you vacation, Don. I don't know where the two doctors go on vacation, but you could anywhere you have cell phone service, or you could actually come back into the meeting. So we're trying to make that as easy and as comfortable as possible for everybody to do that. And again, the idea here is to be beneficial for the community and get the information out. So once a month we'll be doing that, and of course you can go back and review these online, be a part of the studio show. We're going to have on the studio show, I should mention it, Bruce Johnson on Wednesday.
Bruce.
He'll be in, and there's a lot I think he's got to talk about with some things going on with the state, big projects, lots of movement there that are probably beneficial to the area, and so he'll get to talk about that. That's from 10:30 to 11:30. And then on down in the future, back to the football games, of course, but Coach's Show, we're going to revive that again this year. Be seeing some of that, get to talk to Coach Morgan. Kind of feel bad for Coach Morgan because we haven't done much but interviews with Coach Morgan out on the field.
we
but
ran into COVID.
Yeah, we've had, poor Coach. Everybody's been through COVID. Is like, cry me a river, right? So, but anyway, we're going to get give Coach some appropriate time
Good.
on the broadcast and talk to some other things. There's going to be a lot of other stuff going on too, so you get to get back to that kind of stuff. And then, of course, the magazine Hub Extra is going to come out in the fall too. And I know there's going to be a story in there from Dr. Amon number 1, as we refer to her.
Which I don't know. Terry started that. But
Yeah.
It's foolish.
Well, he probably made the right decision for you then, I think, in that case. So anyway, she will be here on the studio show as well on the 31st of May.
Good.
And then in between Bruce and Dr. Amon number 1, Dr. Melissa Amon, will be Carrie Marks from the hospital.
From the hospital. Yeah, good.
And so I know they have a new CEO out there. We were trying to get her to get him in here as well. I don't
Man,
know if
you're
that's
getting all
going to
the
happen.
smart people.
Well, it's not easy to find somebody smarter than the host.
And then you're stuck with me.
Well, no. But you got the doctorate put in front of your name.
That's true.
So I just have to go. Well,
Just went to school for a long time.
exactly. I just modifying my body parts anyway. So which I'm on the other side of the doctor deal. then I went the wrong direction. But anyway, but it's all good. So thank you guys for joining us today. Thank you guys, and we're sorry for the commission meeting, but that may not be being broadcast tonight. And if we've messed that up, that is our apology. But I just don't see it anywhere that we can simulcast it this evening. So we'll sign off and say goodnight for now. But Don, thank you again very much.
Thank you, Joe.
And thank you all for watching. And we hope to see you next time on Cyshing Matters. Oh, and
Was that the bumper out?
no, there's supposed to be a nice little bumper. Oh.
Technology.
And you know what? I really wanted you to see that too, because it's kind of funny, actually. But
You can put it in post.